was one of those comments where I get on social media, and it's like you type out 50 replies and then you remember you got to be professional. So I thought, fuck it, we'll talk about it on the pod. So it was a post I did about PTSD, and saying that there's so many cops and so many ambulance service and everything else who struggle with PTSD. And a comment I got here was, I did 30 years, was no problem, man up and just get on with it.
I've had loads like that on my Instagram too.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I know an officer who did 30 years in the service frontline, and then they did like another 10 in the control room, and they are similar to this kind of way of thinking. But at the same time, I remember them breaking down one day and telling me about an incident involving like a child, what they dealt with probably about 40 years ago, and they still think about it and it still weighs on the mind.
And let me guess, they're quite a heavy drinker.
They do like a beer. Yeah.
Quite a heavy drinker, has this oh, just man up and get on with it, but gets shit-faced every night with either red wine or beer, wakes up in the morning feeling ridiculously hungover. Do you not think that that's a problem? Are you not noticing that actually I'm drinking to forget everything that I've gone through? That's PTSD.
Yeah. Because people block it out, don't they? They don't want to deal with it. And I mean, when I was in the job, I don't know if you felt this way as well, Emma, but when I was in the job, if I go to something pretty fucking nasty or something was a bit upsetting, I wouldn't want to show that it had affected me, because I used to think, well, I'm a police officer. I'm going to deal with that sort of stuff. I need to get on with it. I need to crack on. But as a result of that, like, I remember one night I was having a drink just with my partner, and I just absolutely started cracking up, started breaking down, just like, and then just all this shit started coming out of. I dealt with this incident, and I dealt with this and dealt with that. Like, I went to that murder of that Brianna Jai, you know, that trans girl that got stabbed to death. I went to that, and it was fucking horrendous. And you know, even now when I talk about it, or I think about it, like, I watched the documentary, I was really sobbing my eyes out, like watching the documentary on it, like seeing the body worn footage of the cop running towards it. And you know, that's something you've got to talk about, and you've got to deal with that, because that trauma doesn't disappear. You just bury it, but your body keeps score of trauma and that. So
did the job offer any support?
So we got what was called a TISM, a traumatic incident debrief, but that was about 4 or 5 weeks later, because I was kept on. It was a few weeks later. I was kept on scene. So basically, everyone else who was first there all got taken off straight away, which is good. But for some reason, I got kept on for like 6-7 hours. So I could see the body, I could see them all working and everything else. And at the time, you know, I went home that night, I was like, oh, there's been a murder and it's this and that. And you didn't really think much of it, but it's later on. Hi everyone, this video is sponsored by my best-selling police memoir, The Job's Fuck Secret Diary of a Police Officer. If you want to find out the things that really happen in the police, the good, the bad and the ugly, the things what the police really don't want people to know, then check this book out. The book is available on Kindle, paperback and audio, and you can get it from the link in the description of this video. Be sure to like and subscribe and show some support to the channel. You can also sign up to my newsletter to receive news and updates, and you can even support me on Patreon for as little as a price of coffee a month. I'm a one-man army doing this, so your support means the absolute world. So please sit back, relax and enjoy the video.
Yeah, you go home and you think, I'm okay, I feel all right, I've obviously seen this horrific thing, I'm going to take some time. And then it's only the next few days where you start to notice it. Yeah. And then it becomes a problem. But then by that point, it's often too late, and the job's support system is non-existent. And then whilst you're still dealing with that one incident that you've gone to, you'll go into another stabbing, you'll go into another suicide, another murder, a sudden death, and dealing with traumatic events on top of that. So how are you ever meant to figure out in your head the process of dealing with each traumatic event when you are constantly just adding to that trauma? And that's why so many people have complex PTSD.
Exactly, and it's the needs of the organisation as well, so the wheels keep on turning. So if you've been to a traumatic incident and you come in the next day, they're not going to, if they're short-staffed or the radio's going off, they're not going to say, oh, you don't need to go out because you went to the incident yesterday, are they? They're going to go, well, listen, we'll deal with that later on. You'll have your debrief and all the rest of it, but, you know, you need it outside, and that could equally be something else. I had a cop message me, and they've asked to to not go into too much detail about it because it's still ongoing. But
Hmm.
they said that they went to an incident where someone had really seriously hurt themselves and they were basically bleeding out on the street. And they were the first one there. They were single crewed, which is a massive issue. They were the
Hmm.
first one there, and it took them took about 5 to 10 minutes for some else support to turn up. And they said like that was the longest 5 to 10 minutes of their life, just trying to stop this bloke from passing away.
Yeah.
And they said they went home and they were fine, but then they couldn't sleep the next few days. And it's like they were waking up in hot sweats, and so it's like, well, yeah, because you've not processed what you've just dealt with.
Yeah, I had something similar. So I went to a suicide shortly after Christmas. It was in between Christmas and the New Year. And the man had unfortunately slit like this part of his arm and bled out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if you know, but like during that time period is when suicides just go because
Yeah,
everyone's
around
like,
Christmas time.
yeah, around Christmas time, people are dealing with like family issues and whatnot. A lot of people that are alone find it really difficult. So there was actually two that come in at the same time. And this just shows how desensitized police officers are. But I had to go to one of them, and my colleague had to go to another one. And we were deciding between us who was going to go to which. So it was the choice of either going to this man who had bled out by slitting his wrist, or someone who was in a hotel and had hung themselves on a picture frame with a hairdryer. And like to just even sit there and decide which one you'd rather go to. And
Yeah,
I'd been to a few hangings that month already. So I said, look, I'll go to that one, you deal with that one. So I went, expecting there to be loads of blood. I'm not a squeamish person, so I thought it'll be fine. Actually, was not fine. I had to search all the body, obviously, as you do. But as I pulled my hands away, I looked like I'd committed a murder. Like I was double gloved, but
wow,
when you can
wow.
still feel it, it was still like he'd been there about
Mm-hmm.
12 hours. The blood had started to congeal, so it had gone all jelly like. I was scooping through it all to try and find anything. I was searching him, and then it got to the point where I had to step outside with my sergeant. So I was like, this is a bit much. We'd both gone like white as a ghost. Both felt a bit woozy. So we got in the car, we debriefed. He went, "Are you okay?" And I said, "You know what? It was a bit horrible, but yeah, I think I'm fine." And obviously, my dad was in the fire brigade, so I called him up when I got back to the station. I went downstairs for a vape because I used to vape then to try and just
Mm-hmm.
help. Um, and we spoke through it because he's obviously seen his fair share of trauma. Because when you're in that job, you don't want to then. I could have called my mum, who I'm really close to, or my partner, but they've never seen stuff like that. They've never even seen a dead
Yeah,
body, and they never chose
yeah,
to go into that job. So I don't want to put them in that situation, traumatizing them by telling them what I've gone through. So I dealt with it, called my dad, and then I said, you know what, I'm fine. I'll see how I go. And then over the next few days, it was New Year's Eve, and I went away with my partner. We went to a pub for lunch, and I ordered a roast dinner, and I got cranberry sauce with it, thinking nothing of it. I scooped the cranberry sauce onto my plate, and honestly, nearly passed out. And he was like, "Are
wow.
you like, what's wrong?" And I was like, "I don't. It must be like related to that suicide that I went to." And then another one we were watching Harry Potter, and he like slits his wrist to put the blood into the cauldron. One minute I
Yeah,
was watching it, the next minute I passed out on the sofa. Don't remember
wow.
anything. And then so I've gone back in and I've asked for help. This trim is what ours was called, like the trauma intervention, meant to be
Yeah,
within
yeah,
10 days of the event. Got offered the appointment within 14, cancelled it on the day of, re-gave me another appointment on the 16th day after, said you need to drive for an hour on your rest day to go to the appointment, when I had my own therapy 18 days after the event. And then no one ever called me on my days off, nothing. And you just think if you're dealing with that, and at the same time, I'm still dealing with all the jobs on my account, still trying to process all of this whilst dealing with other
yeah,
traumatic stuff. It's crazy that there's just so little support, and no one actually realizes how many traumatic things. It's like an average person in their life will see between 3 to 14 traumatic things. A police officer is 6 to 700.
yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that stat.
When there's people, because they're obviously still dealing with the same things that we've gone to. So why is it that they're saying just man up and deal with it? Well, what are you doing to cope with it then? Are you drinking heavily? Are you smoking 60 a day? What is it? Because you're not healthy. If you've seen all of that and you've done that for 30 years, there is no way on this planet that hasn't affected you. And to turn around and tell colleagues just to man up and deal with it, I've known of so many colleagues in the time that have actually taken their own life, a lot of them being men, because they probably dealt with people like that and felt that they couldn't speak up about what they're going through.
It is sad, and it's a culture which needs to change. I think it is changing slowly because it's being more recognised. But this whole thing of I did X amount, man up, get over it, you're too
Yeah,
soft. Frankly, mate, fuck off. Like that's
yeah.
what I've got to say to that. Um, because I don't believe that you've done 30 years in the job and you are completely fine. I don't believe that at all. You've probably got some very unhealthy coping mechanisms which are masking all the fucking trauma what your body's carrying around with you.